All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the September 20th, 2022 Board of Education regular meeting at 7 p.m. Kenny, good evening to you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Beck?
Here.
Mrs. Lala? Here. Mr. Mazzano?
Here.
Mr. Plaza?
Here.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Here.
Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mr. Monson?
Here. Quorum has been established. Please stand.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of Norwich School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence and nurturing environment.
Thank you, sir. Celebration of success time. Would anybody like to celebrate any type of success in the comments?
So at Giles, the LMC Center is looking great. We're getting close to finishing it up and opening it for our students. So soon that will be happening. We're just doing some final touches. And then Eisenhower Library will be working with us to getting the books back in and getting them all properly labeled for our checkout system. So we're really excited about that.
Great, thanks, Bob. Anyone else? So I'll take a quick second, and I want to thank, I really mean it, I want to thank Michelle, Bob, Sean, Peter, and Derek. And I also want to thank Mazzano for their volunteering today. In Harvard Heights, there was a tree planting event. 50 trees were planted with the help of everybody I just mentioned. So much appreciated, and thank you guys for coming. Anyone else? Okay. The Board of Education will conduct a public hearing regarding Norwich School District 80's fiscal year 2023 budget at this time. Kenny, can I have a roll call?
Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mrs. Beck?
Here.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Here.
Mr. Plaza?
I'm here.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Mazzano? Mr. Monson?
Second one. I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you. Last month, we took a look at the tentative budget. Since then, we've been working on finalizing the budget. I'll have a quick couple of slides to review with you. And we can move on if there's any public participation. Okay, to start off with, the final budget for 22-23 takes into account all personnel and all personnel increases, which includes the collective bargaining agreement, which we have on our agenda tonight for the board to approve. Our collective bargaining agreement for teachers. It's a 3-year contract starting this year, going on for 2 additional years. So the final budget has all of those increases, and not just for CBA members, but for everyone in the district. It includes all increases in levels of insurance. This includes medical, dental, health, life, vision, plus all of our other district level insurances, like our workman's comp insurance, our click liability, our risk management insurance. All levels, as you know, we talked a little bit about last month, they have gone up. It includes all of our grants. Currently, right now, we have ESSER 2 money in the 22-23 budget. We have the ARP, or also known as ESSER 3 money. We have the CURES grant, which is our grant that we receive for after-school activities. We have our Preschool for All grant, which I'm going to speak a little bit about later today. That is a new grant that we have just been awarded. And then our Community PBIS Partnership grant, where we are working with some other Norwich community work groups to bring some health and wellness to our Norwich community. It includes all of our continuing of our facilities plan and the safety plan, which again we'll talk a little bit about tonight. and includes all the programming and all the professional development. So everything that we have planned for the 2022-2023 school year is all included in the budget. Here's a quick, we'll take a quick look through it. Here are the operating funds. The operating funds are made up of the Ed Fund, which is Fund 10, Operations and Maintenance, which is Fund 20, Transportation, which is Fund 40, and then of course we include working cash for a total of the operating funds. This is all of the funds in the district, including all of the grants. So at the top, you can see on July 1st of where our fund balances were, and then where we are projected for our revenues and our expenditures in each of our operating funds, where we would have a deficit in some of those funds, in 10, in the education fund, operations and maintenance, and transportation, and then total in our operating funds. We are also predicting about a $400,000 transfer out of operations and maintenance into site and construction. We're going to make that transfer for projects that are going on. However, we can't make that transfer until we identify exactly what project it is that we're using it for. So the deficits that you see in operations and maintenance and in transportation are kind of deficits that we put there purposely, where we're spending more money than we're bringing in, because we have actually quite a bit of money in both of those funds. If you look at the transportation fund, for example, with $300,000 in it, we have more money in the transportation fund than we are spending right now. So, and transportation goes by the rears. So we get refunded for transportation on what transportation happened last year. And we're still kind of getting a little bit past COVID on transportation. And just to be clear, transportation is only for special education transportation. That's all we offer in the district. So I want, before we go into the Ed Fund, I want to take a look at the second slide. This slide are all the one-time grants. So we want to be really transparent with everyone and understand that this money that we have in the revenue and the expenditures of over $1 million are the grants that I just mentioned to you. The ESSER 2 grant, the APR grant or ESSER 3, the CURES grant, PFA, the Preschool for All grant, and then the community grant. When you put money in for grants, you don't expect to get all of the money back in the same year. Because the money that you spend in like the last quarter of the year, typically you get reimbursed at the next year. So we reimburse at about 80% we expect to get, 20% we expect to get the next year, thus that deficit. So you'll notice we are predicting about $120,000 deficit, which is part of that first slide that we saw. The $50,000 operations and maintenance is part of the PFA grant. Then moving forward, here is the legal budget when we took out all the grants. Because when we look at all of the grants, remember that is one-time money. So that's not money that we can expect to have in the future. So we have to really look at the budget at this level where we're looking at what the money is without the grants, because we can't rely on that money to be with us every year, because it won't be. So now we're looking at about a $78,000 deficit in the Ed Fund, which is what we were expecting. So really when you're adding in the ESSER amounts of the 120 deficit spending, that's where we come up with the 199 in the full legal budget in the Ed Fund. We are in the process of trying to build up the Ed Fund. I think we're in a really good place for it. Lastly, just want to share that policy 4:20 on fund balances states that we will maintain a year-end fund balance of revenue rate ratio no less than 33%. Going off of this budget, we will be at 39% in all of our fund balances. So we are meeting what our policy is. I don't know if you want to read that next part about public participation, if there are
Yeah,
any
no,
questions.
does the board have any questions or comments for Michelle? For the public, now is the time to receive comments from public regarding the proposed fiscal year 23 Norwich School District budget. Illinois law requires that a public hearing be held prior to the adoption of the district's budget. The public hearing is not a dialogue or question and answer session between the board and the audience. It is a time when the public can present information and express opinions. The board's role is to listen intently to all comments presented by the public and then consider those comments when the board deliberates on the adoption of the budget. So if the public would like to make any comments, now would be the time. Okay, so with no comments or questions from the board or the public, we will adjourn this public hearing and go back into our regular meeting. Moving on to an action item. I'd ask the board to consider the agenda as presented or modified. Any discussion? I will now ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Motion. Frank, seconded by Chris. Can we roll call, please?
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Valeri?
Yes.
Mrs. Bala? Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Okay, that carries. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. Correspondence, there is no correspondence to report from the board's end. Public participation, do we have anything?
No.
All right. Any, Michelle or anybody from the district, anything coming in email wise?
No, I did not see it.
All right. FOIA request. Since our last meeting, the district has had one FOIA request. I'm going to read that to you. Again, it can be found on our website by tomorrow, probably midday, and you can read it in its entirety, but I will share it with you tonight. Sherry Reed from Smart Procure, dated August 18th of this year, requested any and all purchase records between January 1, 2015 to now. The request is limited to readily available records without physically copying, scanning, or printing paper documents. Any edible electronic document is acceptable. The specific information requested from your record-keeping system are the following. 1. Purchase order number. If purchase orders are not used or a comparable substitute is acceptable, i.e. invoice, encumbrance, or check number. Request 2. Purchase date. 3. Line item details, detailed description of said purchase. Number 4. Line item quantity. 5. Line item price. Number 6. Vendor ID number, name, address, contact person, and their email addresses. That's the FOIA that we received. Presentation. I have a building and grounds project presentation at this time.
So we're beginning today's presentation with just a review of our summer fiscal year 22 projects that we've been working on. At Lee, we completed asbestos removal on all of the pipes, the long pipes in the hallways and the long runs. We also completed the lunchroom update. If you haven't gone down there, please take a walk down there later. It looks really great down there. The ceiling has been removed, painted, new lights have been put in, and there is some touch-up paint that we're going to be completing fairly soon with the Lee lunchroom, and it really opens it up. It's much brighter for the kids when they're down there having lunch. At Giles, we also completed the asbestos removal on the pipes. As Mr. Biecki mentioned in celebrations of success, we are finishing up the library media center, so that brand new space. Everything's been pretty much pulled down to the walls, new flooring, new ceiling, new furniture is expected in about the middle of October. And it's going to be a really beautiful space once that is all complete, and it's almost there. And then the principal, assistant principal, and main offices at Giles have been reworked, painted, some new cove base, some additional walls have been put in, and we're also waiting for furniture, which is about mid-October as well for that project. So just a review of projects that we've been completing. The projects that we're looking at, and Alan and Derek are both here, who can help out if there's any questions for the board. The first project that we're asking you to approve tonight is going out for a request for proposal on the plumbing project. So they took all the asbestos off, all of the elbows and the long runs in both of the buildings, and now we want to replace that piping with copper pipe. We're going to run the copper pipe alongside the galvanized pipe, and so it's not going to be, we're not going to turn off water for it. We're actually going to do this during the school year in the evenings, and run all the pipe, and then when it's time, we'll have it all tied in together into the system, and then have new copper pipe in both the buildings. The request for proposal that we're asking you to approve today, which is a bond, this is a bond-funded project, is a little bit different. What we're asking you to approve is actually having Derek work as our general contractor, and he will be contracting out all of the work that has to be done. So he'll be responsible for purchasing all the materials, we'll be responsible for having everything ready, and then of course he'll supervise the project as it moves along. This is at cost savings, and we're pretty excited about trying this, and really have a lot of confidence in this becoming maybe a new way that we look at doing things in the future. And Derek is certainly capable and will do a great job. We're very confident in that. So that is on the request tonight. The next project that we're looking at are gates and fences, and this is actually going to take place at both schools. The gates and fences are in one area here at Lee School in the south lot. There is, if you go past the dumpster area, there are wood fences that have lived their wood life. They're finished. And our B&G team has to constantly put them back up because they fall over, and pretty much at this point there's no substance to them. So they need to be replaced. These fences are literally between our playground and the neighbors right next door. So that is one of the projects that we're looking at. That is not a safety fence, that's more of a replacing a fence that's existing. Then the two areas here at Lee that we're looking at safety fences is on the north and the south lot, the north and south lot. Those fences currently right now either have to be unlocked or locked. And if we want to lock it in order to keep it safe that people don't wander onto our property during the day, then we don't have access for the students to get out of the building in an emergency situation. So both of those fences, we're looking at putting in new gates. These are ADA accessible gates that push out so that so we can keep the large fences locked during the day. We'll unlock them at the time when the kids come in. We'll unlock them at the time when the kids leave. But then during the day, the fences can be locked, and then the students, if there is a need to leave, can push out through those safety gates. Similar to what we have in the courtyard over here at Lee, if you've gone through that area before. Over at Giles, we are looking at on Oriole, doing the same thing, except there'll be two different areas there. One will be the main fence area right now on Oriole that used to kind of lead right to the main door. However, we don't use that door as our main door anymore. We use door 2 as our entrance now. So they'll be run right there, and then one over on the side by Anderson Hall. Again, this allows us to keep everything locked and secure during the day, so we don't have anyone coming onto our property. Just another way of ensuring some safety and keeping everyone in that needs to be in or out that needs to be out. In addition to that, on the side of Oleander there towards Cullum in the front, we're going to be putting in a fenced area corral. And this is, so if you're coming to Giles School, you will go in through the gate that's on Cullum and be able to walk through that fenced area and go right into what is entrance 2, which is the entrance that visitors ring the doorbell and go into at Giles. This then keeps visitors and the students who are outside at recess separated. In addition, the Cullum area gate that's further down where Oleander hits Cullum, that area is going to be getting a fence, a gate as well. The same idea as I explained to Lee, where we're going to keep that large gate locked during the day, except when the kids come in and when the kids leave. And then we'll have an AD accessible push-through gate that people can leave through. There's going to be one on Cullum right there where Oleander hits Cullum, and then there's going to be a second one that'll go out into the field for second emergency situations if we need fire drills, things like that. So those are the gates and fences projects that are on the board agenda for approval tonight. We have received a very generous donation from the Norwich Schools Foundation for the safety door at Giles. So in that entrance 2 that I explained to you is where visitors enter. You go through a locked door, and then on that side you can speak to the nurse who is behind glass. But if you actually want to come in to the nurse's office, you would get buzzed into the nurse's office and basically have access to the whole rest of the school. So we want to put a second set of secure doors there that are locked that people would have to get buzzed into in order to get into the rest of the school. So if someone was going to drop off things from Amazon or UPS, they can get into the nurse's area, or if a parent is coming to pick up a sick child, they can get into that area, but then not have access to the rest of the building. And NSF has generously donated the funds for that project, which is on the board agenda tonight to approve. The last thing we're looking at for the fall are additional electronic readers at the doors of Giles. There are 5 doors? 5 doors currently at Giles that don't have the electronic readers, which is really a safety issue. So we're not able to get back into the building on those 5 doors currently right now. So we are looking at an Anderson purchase order tonight to approve getting new doors, readers for those doors. The fences, the doors, aside from the fence replacement on the south lot, and the safety door and the electronic door readers are really under safety. And it came out of our threat assessment committee recommendations in order to keep our buildings safe.
Yeah, the fob doors really help from people dropping doors. So if they have access, like teachers, to get back into the building, they're less likely to put anything in the door to keep it open.
The RFP that you have tonight for approval, as I mentioned, is a different, is a little bit different. I don't know, Alan, do you want to share anything about it?
Yeah, and expand on that a little bit. I think it's a really interesting concept where we're really trying to make the package as attractive to plumbers as possible. And plumbers shouldn't be plumbing. Plumbers shouldn't really be repairing walls and doing things that are a natural part of their business. So by really taking the purchasing of material ability out of their package, and really getting them to focus in on what they do and what they do best, we think really will make it attractive, which in turn will get to maximize the value to the district. I think it's going to be very interesting.
And just like with any other request for proposal, we would have a mandatory walkthrough beforehand, which we have an October date for that, and then the bidding process would end of October, I believe.
Correct. The goal was to bring it to the November board meeting for approval.
Any questions about any of the projects?
I do, but if anybody else wants to go first. Can you go back to your first slide?
Sure.
The summer 2022 project?
Absolutely.
I know you and I talked about it in our agenda meetings, but I want to share with the board and with the community, who are some of the people that are making these projects happen? Who's working on these things, Michelle?
So the asbestos, we did a request for a proposal, and that was a company that we hired that came out and completed that.
Yeah.
And they really did a great job with that. I mean, quick. And it was a full asbestos removal, so they had to follow everything by code. The lunchroom update has been our buildings and grounds guys, who has been, so it's been Derek, it's been Mike, Anthony, Dylan, who's kind of been in and out this summer a bit, And then the two gentlemen that we hired, that you hired, Frank and Maje, who came on and helped us as well. And they originally were really kind of taking care of the outside stuff, but we had to kind of shift them to helping with the Learning Center. The Library Media Center has been all of our B&G guys. I think Pat Rossi and Mike Lindowski have come in and helped with that on the weekends and the evenings. And then the principal, assistant principal, that's pretty much what you guys, right? Yeah. So we have not outsourced anything except, of course, we had to outsource these buses. There's no opportunity for our guys to do that.
So I appreciate that. And Derek, I want to thank you and your crew for all the work you guys do. Pat, Mike, Tony, and anybody else I'm missing, everybody that Michelle said. When this board got on, the grounds were neglected. That was a major focal point for us. Frank and Louis done a lot of work in that. So when your son or daughter see these new improvements, there are people behind it. And it's Derek and his guys, it's from the board to the maintenance crew to the people that are doing it. So I just wanted to shine a light on who is actually making these things happen. The restructuring of the maintenance department was a major component on how things are getting done. Everybody wants things to get done. There's money involved, but there's also people involved, right? The money that we're saving is because it's being done. 3 of these 4 projects, 75% of that screen you see is because the people that have been hired recently are doing the work. So that needs to be, stressed. So I appreciate it, and I thank you guys for doing what you do. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, no, thank you for mentioning that. I just wanted to review where we are in some planning stages, because while that list is a lot for the fall, we of course are continuing to look forward. We met on Friday afternoon and started some of our other planning projects. The preschool area in the old Learning Center is one of the projects that we're starting to talk about funding for and specifics. Moving with that, we would be moving the district administrative offices up to this area where the preschool is currently right now. We're looking at installing some ADA single-stall bathrooms at Lee, so that when people are here for an activity that are in the gym, that there are some bathrooms that are right there in order to service people when they're here. The next part of the plumbing is, as I mentioned, we're doing the long runs in the halls. Now we have to go into the walls that are inside of the classrooms. That will be a pretty major project we're looking at next summer, which could involve some census as well. We don't know until we get there. We won't know what we have. And that also will be replacing or starting a cycle replacement of the sinks that are in the classrooms. We're updating some furniture in classrooms at Giles and at Lee. And we're continuing the building beautification. I think that hallway, the 6th grade hallway at Giles, which, if you haven't seen that too, looks great with the purple on the bottom and the nice gold stripe. And I know Mr. Biecki and Dr. Rabbiola are really working on updating the beauty of the buildings with signs, with paint. So we have a lot going on with the buildings and grounds. And again, you're right, we could not do any of that without our in-house people who are working so hard. It's difficult, especially for Derek, to be doing the work hands-on when he's got so much paperwork to do as well. So he's got to balance all of it. So you'll be hearing about these projects very soon. Any other questions about any of the B&G projects? We would like to schedule a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting in October. So we can look into the next piece and talk about funding sources.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you. I'm going to turn it right back over to you. Right. For our next period.
Thank you. So a couple of things in my report tonight. I wanted to share with everyone, I believe I shared with the board already, but Ralph Grimm's mother passed away last week. Patricia Grimm had been ill, 89 years old, was a wonderful woman, and was a great influence on Ralph and on his role in education and his journey. So I did send a, kind of funny, planting a tree for her in our name from Norwich School District 80. So we have a little plaque that shows that we sent that to her. Just want to share that with everyone. The Triple I Conference is coming up November 18th through 20th, if any of the board members are interested in attending. The Triple I Conference is the Illinois, the IASA, which is the Superintendent Association, the IASB, which is the School Board Association, and the IASBO, which is the Chief Business Officers Association. This is all three of these groups get together for this conference in downtown Chicago. It is typically the weekend, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday before Thanksgiving. So if anyone is interested in attending, please let me know. As I kind of mentioned a little bit, we have been, since the last board meeting, we have been notified that we were awarded the Preschool for All grant, which is about $410,000. We have not received the next set of information. What the Preschool for All grant allows us to do is to allow our families, and it is based on not need financially, but it's based on a rating scale of the students, but allows us to offer preschool for free, as many of our two districts, Union Ridge and Penoyer, do currently right now. So we're really excited about being awarded this one. I don't have any details yet, so as soon as I know, we'll start getting that out there and start letting our families know what the process will be. And of course, if there is returning tuition, we'll get that done too. I just don't know anything about that yet. We had our first BPAC meeting last week, which is our bilingual group that gets together with both of our assistant principals attending, and then we had a couple of parents that attended. The purpose of this committee is really to plan out our services for our students where English is a second language, and to be able to have some community input on this. This is a mandatory group that we have to get together every year, and we're really excited about the people that we've had. We're certainly looking for additional people to join us. But it was a good meeting last week. Today on the agenda, later in the meeting, are the Illinois Learning Standards for Comprehensive Personal Health and Safety and Sexual Education. As I spoke last month, Policy 6.60, which covers the comprehensive personal health and safety and sexual education area in the state of Illinois. Illinois has adopted the national sex standards, and school boards have some decisions to make. Last month, I did a pretty comprehensive presentation about what is in those standards, which can be found online if anyone would like to take a look at that. Tonight, we are asking you to make a decision about what you'd like us to teach with that. Do you want us to teach all of the standards, none of the standards, some of the standards? Really have options on all of those, on all of the above. In addition, I have on the agenda tonight the Candor health programs, which we have done in the past. You may have known of this as Robert Crown. Robert Crown changed the name to Candor. Candor programs, I also went through last month on the 4 different programs that they have for 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So tonight we're asking you to consider those programs. One note that there are currently 7 areas that a parent can opt out of in standards in Illinois. One of those areas are comprehensive sex education. That opt-out can be as simple as contact the building principal if you want to be opting out of this education, or it could be a form that's filled out. Either way, you can opt out of comprehensive sex education. And just to note also, another one of those 7 areas is avoiding sexual abuse. Last month, we talked a little bit about Aaron's Law. Please remember Aaron's Law, which is the training on sexual abuse or avoiding sexual abuse, is very different than the comprehensive personal health and safety and sexual education law. They're very different things. Parents can still opt out of both of them, again, via email or form filled out, but I do just want to mention that to the board. And I think my last thing that I have in the special meeting tonight is on the agenda today, we are asking for for a loan from working cash to the ed fund. We are asking the board to move $1 million out of working cash and put it into the ed fund. Now, we've talked a little bit about this the last 2 months, so let me just do a quick refresher. Currently, right now in Cook County, taxes are delayed. We rely on property taxes. About 85% of our funding, probably a little more than that, actually come from property taxes. In school districts, that's just how they work. So once the property taxes are delayed, we may not be receiving the money until December or maybe even January. We simply can't make payroll. So we are asking the board tonight to make a one-time move of $1 million out of working cash into the ed fund. Basically what we're doing is borrow money from ourselves. Doesn't cost us anything. And then as the money comes in, we put the money back into the working cash fund. That's a simple item that we're voting on tonight. However, we do need to keep in our minds that that might not be enough. And at that point, we don't have additional funds out of working cash that we can borrow. So we're going to keep a really close eye on the money that we need to have to make payroll, to pay bills every month. We may be coming to you in October and asking you to allow us to borrow money. Now that's tough because there is some interest involved in borrowing money, which right now is maybe around 3.25%. That's not something we want to do. And again, I cannot stress enough that it's not because money's been mismanaged. It's not because we've spent more than what we have. It is just simply because the money from taxes just hasn't started coming into us yet. Once that money starts coming in, we're going to be fine. But we may hit a situation in November, maybe December. We have to just keep really good close eye on things where the money that has not been coming in allows us to not pay the bills that we have. Now, the good part of this is there are school districts that have surplus of money that allow districts like us to borrow money from them. There is still a fee involved, and we still have to do an application, so that would pretty much be the same if we went out to a bank. However, we wouldn't get charged any interest until we actually take the money out. If we went to a bank and we borrowed money, that interest would start as soon as we complete all of these steps. So it wouldn't, if we didn't need the money, for example, we'd start paying interest on it right away. If we go the route of going to another school district, and we have actually a company that does this for us, it's not like we go knocking on people's doors, then we wouldn't actually start paying any interest until we actually have a need for it. So this has to be something on your radar. We may be coming to you in October saying that we need to start this process, because the process does take time. We may just have to do it, and then if we don't end up needing the money, then we don't end up having to pay any interest. I don't have anything on that tonight, except for the $1 million borrowing of working cash funds into the ed fund.
Question?
Yep, question.
Are we any closer to knowing when the Cook County tax bills are going to go out?
I'm going to refer to you on
The latest that I've heard is that there's a three-step process. The first is the levy edit report, which gets sent out to the school districts for verification. The second, once that's done, is the preparation of the tax bills. And the third is sending out the tax bills with the due date. The latest I've heard is they could be due just before Christmas. Not a good timing, obviously, but that's the latest I've heard. And we would get the levy edit report at the end of October or November. Then it takes them about a month to generate the bills. And then they have 30 days to pay.
And then do we happen to know when next year's first round will be? Is that gonna be delayed too because this has been delayed?
Likely, well, not in March, because that's an automatic percentage of the previous year. So we're gonna get a whole year's worth within about 4 months. You're gonna pay a whole year's taxes in like 4 months. But the following year, most likely, unless something drastic will change, will be late too because they're behind.
Okay.
And normally this time, I live in the north suburbs, I would have already gotten stuff already. You know, and some of the north suburbs were townships, nothing's been sent out.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else from the board? I got 2 comments I'd like to make. Number one, on behalf of the board, I want to send our condolences to Ralph and the entire Bird family. We're sorry to hear about his mom's passing, and we send our condolences that way. Number 2, it was really great to hear when Michelle called me and told me that we were awarded the preschool grant. I want to congratulate the board on that too. When this board got on in 2019, some of our questions were, how come Penoyer has the grant? How come Union Ridge has the grant? How come we don't have the grant? So we stressed we need to get the grant. So how long were we waiting for that, Michelle?
So we qualified for it the year before COVID hit, so during the 1920 school year, however they ran out of money. Then they didn't award it to any additional districts during COVID. So now they just started re-looking at it this year, and the governor's budget actually awarded more money to PFA. Therefore, they contacted me and said, where do you guys stand on this? And I said, yes, we would like the Preschool for All grant. We turned in some paperwork to them, and then we received an email that we were awarded. I spoke with someone at the state about 2 weeks ago. They're still kind of getting everything finalized before they give it out to us.
So again, just like the maintenance projects, it takes people to ask questions as to why this is not done, why we don't have this, why are we behind? So those questions are being answered. It takes some time. We got approved for it probably around 20, and we're getting the money now. So that's a lot of free money that if you don't fill out the paperwork, you're never gonna get. This board instructed certain people to fill out the paperwork, and here comes the grant. So kudos to everybody involved on that. That's all I wanted to comment.
It's really wonderful for our community.
Yep, yes it is. Special ed report, Mr. Masters.
Thank you. So I really wanted to start off with a celebration that we've had such a great start to our school year. It's been incredible working with our students and welcoming them into this new school year. It's been a nice re-entry after COVID. So with that, our case managers for special education students have been working very diligently trying to establish some of those routines and procedures and trying to make sure that we kind of understand coming back to school, how that routine operates. So they've been doing an excellent job with that. I have been working very closely with several of our new special education case managers. As the board is probably aware, we've had a couple of shifts that has certainly been, very challenging to fill, but we really appreciate our internal teachers working through that. So this has been one of those opportunities for me to kind of work with them and help them step into the larger field of special education. We also want to welcome our new occupational therapists to the district. As the board is also aware, we've had some challenges with finding the occupational therapist, but we finally have kind of had a working solution now. And we actually have both our occupational therapists who will be filing Medicaid claims and the like, as well as the occupational therapist aide who will be in the buildings and working with their students. Both of them have demonstrated a very strong desire to work with our students, and they're ready to go, ready to hit the ground running. So it's been very exciting to work with them. To a new point, we have actually started a new type of morning collaboration for our teachers. Specifically, that we've started the special education grade level problem solving, or GLIPS, groups in the morning, also kind of individual problem solving. And what these groups are doing is basically another layer for us to kind of look through at a student or students at a grade level very closely to see what kind of challenges that student might be facing in the classroom and what we can do to kind of build that support around them. That way we don't have to necessarily call a specific meeting. We can have these regular occurring meetings week after week. So this will kind of focus a little bit on behavioral tracking, any kind of new or revitalized interventions for students, or even individual progress, just to kind of touch base and see how the students are doing. In addition to this, we have also started our first department meetings of the year. So this includes everybody across the building, so both at Lee and Giles, making sure that we focus on a variety of aspects in the special education, which does include IEP consistency and compliance. Something that will be recurring throughout this school year. Moving to extracurricular activities, we actually have been able to expand that. We've been able to have some of our students from outside of our current two buildings who are still part of the Norwich community actually join in to kind of celebrate that shared love of sports. So it's very exciting to be bringing back to the board more news that we are continuing to bring some of our students who are outside of our walls back in to try to encourage them to be included as much as possible. Also, believe it or not, we've already started with some of our individualized education program meetings, so our annual reviews, intake meetings. We've already started that process. These are legal mandates as outlined by IDEA. They've been kind of varied in terms of nature, but have all been focusing on what we can do to best support students. So we'll be continuing that throughout this entire school year. And then lastly, our professional development opportunities. We have also been coordinating with West 40, our regional office of education. And we actually were able to coordinate a successful professional development session at the very first day of school to actually talk a lot about how to read an IEP, how to actually consider it in its fullest capacity in each individualized classroom, and really focus on how to support that student and wrap around that student given the curriculum in each of those classes. That's my report.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Masters, thank you. Moving on to our building principals, Mr. Yeti, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This school year is off to a great start. Our teachers are doing a wonderful job building and classroom expectations. We're focusing on improving our reading, math, and SEL behaviors as described in our school improvement plan. We're also developing and working to maintain positive relationships with our students and staff. We're working with students on taking ownership for their learning, and we're understanding and learning what it means to be Giles made. This year's cross country, we've had 54 participants. It's the best ever that we've had. We're very excited for that. We had to hire another coach to support that program. Boys soccer and girls volleyball tryouts will be taking place very soon. We've been making announcements over the intercom, so if any of your students, or children I should say, are interested in trying out for those, they should reach out to either Ms. Fig for girls volleyball and Mr. Gappistoni for boys soccer. And finally, our PTA membership is currently going on. It's $10, so please, if you've not already signed up to be join PTA, please do so. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeti. Dr. Raviol, Lee School.
All right, thank you. So, we heard a little bit about some of the morning collaboration that we have going on. Every day there are different meetings that we have, that everyone is participating in throughout that morning collaboration. Also wanted to make a mention of our early release Wednesdays and what we are utilizing that time for. We've been able to focus on some of our building procedures. We've been able to reintroduce our professional learning communities and kind of re-energize that work. And we've also been able to provide some professional development on some social, emotional, behavioral strategies. We have further plans to reintroduce our committees for this year and to dive into committee work. And all this goes to say that we got a lot of good things happening. And something that I've kind of heard this, reoccurring, trend throughout this meeting about how, some things take some time. And I think that's so true. Earlier we were at the Howard Heights tree planting event, and there was this little tree that we were planting. We were like, how old do you think this tree is? And someone said, oh, that's got to be like 6 years old. And it was just this little, tiny thing. And just to see the amount of time that something can take to really flourish and become something great. It just made me think about all the work that's going on here and all the work that goes into something as simple as planting a tree. And the process, which I learned a lot today, so about how you got to prune certain things to the side, and it's got to be a donut around and not a volcano. So all these random things, I'm like, all this goes into just planting this one little tree. But think about all that we're doing here, and that we're investing for all of your children. And I'm really excited about the work that we have, and excited about the work that's to come throughout the year. So I'm gonna conclude my report with that.
Thank you, Dr. Ritter. Does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Diakey or Dr. Rubin? Moving on to building discipline, we'll start with Giles. Is there any?
No report this month.
Okay, moving over to the school. Mrs. Corral.
No report as well.
Monthly staffing, Mrs. Goose.
Thank you. Just wanted to again reiterate the teacher shortage that we have going on. It's difficult for us to find the substitutes and people in certain positions. We had, as you see later on in the agenda, we had a resignation due to a family move out of state. So we've had to make a couple of shifts. That resignation was in the special education area, which Mr. Masters spoke a little bit about earlier. We have moved a teacher from science role to the special education role, and she's qualified for that, and hiring a new science teacher tonight. And that's it.
Board. Thank you, Michelle. Moving on to our board committees, board policy and development. Nothing extra to report on that right now. William Browns.
Just wanted to touch on the presentation earlier and being on board with building grounds, and to the rest of the board, Lou and I are usually make ourselves more aware, and we're in the small meetings, and we get to see some of the plans that maybe others don't see. But I can tell you that I'm sure you guys have all seen all those individual line items a few times already. I've a couple of years talking about them. I've seen plans, who we're going to bid with, exactly what it entails. Lou has been in these meetings. I can assure all that this is very thoroughly thought. And I stand by all of it, and it's much needed, considering where the condition the school has been in and where it needs to go. I will give kudos to NSF because the door that they're funding now at Giles was first brought up by them. Well, it was clearly a need, but first brought up by them to fund 3 years ago. So when they say something, they mean it, and then there's good follow through there. At this point, they basically been responsible for remodeling both the front entrance of Lee and Giles, like they said they would. And reviewing the gates and fencing plans, the actual schematic drawings and stuff, that's all stuff I've seen in fine detail, and I think it looks really good, and it's definitely something to pursue on behalf of safety, so I'm really glad that we're moving right ahead. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Communications. Finance. All right, brings us to negotiations. As the board is aware, and I'm sure the community is as well, we're in a negotiating year. I'm happy to say that it's on our agenda tonight for approval. I want to congratulate both sides and the school district for coming to an agreement. This is this board's third negotiated contract. Therefore, I want to give more thanks to Renzo and Frank, who were on the negotiations committee with myself. They're back and forth meetings, and it's been a couple handfuls of meetings back and forth for the last 6 months. I'd say maybe 7, something like that. Also, came into work, Michelle, Ralph, who's not with us here tonight. Ralph put a lot of work into it. Sean and Bob were in those rooms as well. And if I'm missing anybody that's here tonight that were in those rooms, I apologize. But congratulations to both sides, and we're happy that they did that. Education, parent teacher, behavioral, those are as needed. To my knowledge, we've not met, nobody's met on those, so we'll skip on those, we'll go right to Norwich Park.
Nothing new, but in the discussion items, Michelle will go over an update on our after-school programs. We'll touch on that, so nothing new.
All right, I ask the board to consider the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion.
Second.
Move, Frank. Roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano? Mrs. Lala? Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Okay, that carries. And we got on some action items. I ask the board to consider a motion to approve the Norwich School District 80 fiscal year 2023 budget.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Now let's have a motion. Need a motion to Norwich School District 80 fiscal year.
Motion.
Frank, yes. Roll call.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
Okay, carries. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the request for proposal for the plumbing replacement project at Lee and Giles School, bond fund. Discussion. Now I'll ask for a motion to approve the request for proposal for the plumbing replacement project at Lee and Giles School, bond fund. Lou, seconded by Molly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Carries. I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Guzin for some discussion items.
Thank you. So the first discussion item is an update on the Norwich Park District program, the Enrichment program that we're working with. The fall classes have started. I believe last week they started. Currently, there are 8 sessions that are being offered at Lee and 2 sessions that are being offered at Giles. Of those 8 sessions at Lee, 136 children are involved in one of the 8 classes. At Giles, 37 children are involved at one of the 2 classes that are being offered. We are finding that we're having trouble finding the right niche at Giles to find out what classes the students want to take. Currently, we have 17 students enrolled in robotics at Giles and 20 students in art. The 2 additional classes that we were trying to offer were chess, which we only had 3 students, and then the Broadway trio, which you may have recognized that as the triple threat we had last year with the singing and the dancing and the acting, which was very popular last year. That is only had 3 students, so both of those had to be canceled. We're currently working with the Park District on a survey that's being sent out for the students and for the families, not just at Giles, but also at Lee, in order to really get into what the students are looking for classes. It should be noted also there are after-school activities at Giles, like softball is going on currently right now, as Mr. Bianchi mentioned, getting ready for soccer and volleyball. So we do recognize that as well. However, there are 500 students at Giles, so we feel like we should be able to meet some of their needs of what they're looking for in classes. We'll continue doing that. At Lee, of the 8 sessions, there are 2 sessions that are art classes, and there are 20 students enrolled in both of those. 2 sessions that are robotics, and there are 15 students, which is the max of both of those. Little Jammers, which is our youngest students, an activity class, there are 8 students. The Broadway trio, for Lee, there are 20 students involved. And then Gym Rats have 2 sessions with 20 students at each. We compare that to when we started offering the classes last year in February. We started with session 1, which was only at Lee, if you recall. We had 130 students involved at that time. So that's pretty comparable to where we are right now, 136. In session 2 at Lee last year, we had 169. So we are definitely looking to build the program some more so we can get more students involved. And then in Giles last year in session 2, we had 47. So currently with 37, we've got 10 less students involved. Also, this time when we sent out the information, which actually I heard a lot of feedback from parents on, is on the flyer, we noted how much the class cost. So and we had a red line through it, because the classes are free right now for our families. So we did want our parents just to know that this is what the cost is, and this is what we're paying for this class. And if we were not using federal ESSER funds for these classes, this is what we would. I'm sorry, I just said that. We're using the CURES fund for those classes, the after-school funds. That's what the families will be paying. The CURES fund will fund the programs this year and next year. However, after that, those funds dry out, as we mentioned. So we do need to look at either some alternative ways to fund the program or some other partnerships we can continue to build. But we do want everyone to be aware of what those costs are at this point. So we are holding off on putting together session 2 right now in order to get some feedback from our families on how we can grow this program. Any questions? One last note, the program is housed here in the Lee School, not at the Park District, not in their area of Lee School. It's actually here at Lee and then of course in Giles School. Which is important to know, it's not like anyone has to travel. I know we've talked about the Chicago Area Tree Initiative with Morton Arboretum as far as Howard Heights today and the planting of 50 trees. Norwich School District 80 is also part of that initiative. So Derek and I met with Trinity from the Morton Arboretum a couple of weeks ago, and we picked out 7 spaces at the school for some trees to be planted on October 20th. We're really excited about this, and now we're experts at it. We know how to do it really well. So we'll be able to help that. But what's more important for that is we want our students involved. So Dr. Rabiola is working with his building leadership team to decide how the students are able to be picked in order to be part of this. We're really excited. The next section of this will be in the spring, and we will be planting a giles. So October 20th. The next item that I have on the discussion that I want to bring up to the board is I think we need to take a look at our substitute teacher compensation. Currently, right now, it's $126 per day. We're having a very difficult time getting subs. And when we do get subs, they often cancel on us because one of the area schools that pays more, a job shows up and they cancel our job and go to that job. For example, Union Ridge, they start people at 130 but end up after they've been there for a couple of days, they move them up to 140. Compared to Penoyer is 135, Ridgewood is 150. We probably lose the most people though to Park Ridge, which is $145 per day. So I'm not asking for any action tonight, but I do want to discuss this with the board that I feel that we need to raise our substitute pay per day. We have not had a raise in that in over 8 years. We went up to 126. At the time when we were 126, we were the most in the area. We've kind of fallen behind that right now. We haven't raised it in quite a long time.
Quick question.
Yeah, question.
If you have to give a rough average of any school day of the year, how many substitutes do we need in a day?
Per school?
Just to be in general.
I'd say 6. Would you two agree with me on that, Bob and Sean?
I didn't hear the
Of
first.
how many
How many
would you-
substitutes per day would you think that you need?
6 sounds about right.
Yeah.
In both buildings.
What happens more than others are we have to shift around some people in the building because we can't cover it. We do have some wonderful subs that are very dedicated that come in, but we can't cover all the positions that are.
You mentioned that last month, yeah.
Yes, so I put it as a discussion item today. I think we may need to take some action on it next month. And then my last item, I apologize, I spoke out of turn earlier. This is where I was supposed to speak about the comprehensive personal health and sex workers. So I don't have anything more to say about that unless you have any questions.
Board?
Thank you.
Okay, board comments in general. Okay, moving on to closed session. I ask the board to consider a motion to adjourn closed session. Any discussion on that? Now I'll ask for a motion to adjourn closed session to discuss the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, collective bargaining matters, and to review closed session minutes, all in accordance with Illinois statutes.
Second.
Chris, Frank, can you roll call?
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Monson? Mr. Lala? Mr. Madonna?
All right, that carries. We'll note the time, 8:06 p.m. We'll be in Tiger territory, beginning at, say, about 8:15, just about 10 minutes. All right? Okay, we're back in open session at 9:24 p.m. Personnel action items. Consider a motion to approve the school fifth grade science teacher Adil Awad, step 1 lane 1. Discussion. I'm asking for a motion to approve the employment of Giles School fifth grade science teacher Adil Awad, step 1 and lane 1.
Motion.
Second.
Molly, Frank.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Madonna?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Good.
Carries. I'd ask the board to consider the approval of district special ed professional Aisha 2. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to approve the employment of district special ed paraprofessional Aisha 2.
Motion.
Second.
Maria, Lou, Kitty, roll call please.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Madonna?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes. Carries. As the board consider the acceptance of the letter of resignation from Mary Carol Connors, Giles School fifth grade special ed teacher. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Mary Carol Connors at Giles School fifth grade special ed teacher.
Motion.
Second.
Molly, seconded by Frank. Can you roll call please?
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Madonna?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
That motion carries. I'd ask the board to consider the acceptance of resignation from district special ed paraprofessional Jasmine Wilson. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to accept the resignation of district special ed paraprofessional Jasmine Wilson.
Motion.
Renzo, Lou, can you roll call?
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Madonna?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Motion carries. I'd ask the board to consider the reassignment of Taylor Progress, fifth grade science teacher to fifth grade special ed at Giles School for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. Any discussion? I'll ask for the motion to approve the reassignment of Taylor Progress, fifth grade science teacher to fifth grade special ed at Giles School for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year.
Motion.
Molly, second by Chris. Can you roll call?
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Madonna? Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Carries. I ask the board to consider a motion to approve the movement of Jane Royal from step 5, lane M8 to step 5, lane B8 plus 15. Discussion. I need a motion to approve the movement of Jane Royal from step 5, lane M8 to step 5, lane B8 plus 15.
Second.
Okay, Maria, second by Lou. Can you vote?
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Madonna?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes. Carries. I'd ask the board to consider the movement of Jennifer Bone from step 1, lane 1 to step 1, lane 3. Discussion. I need a motion to approve movement of Jennifer Bowles from step 1, lane 1 to step 1, lane 3.
Motion.
Chris, seconded by Maria. Katie, roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanna?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes, carries. And ask the board to consider a motion to approve the movement of Dave Pack from step 3, lane 4 to step 3, lane 3. Discussion. I need a motion to approve the movement of Dave Pack from step 3, lane 4 to step 3, lane 3.
Motion.
Second.
Chris, Frank, roll call please.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanna? Mrs. Lala? Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Carries. Okay, moving on to our specific action items. I ask the board to consider a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Norwich Board of Education and the Norwich Education Association of Teachers for 2022 through 2025. Any discussion? I will now ask for a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement, also known as the CBA, between the Norwich Board of Education and the Norwich Education Association of Teachers for 2022 through 2025.
Motion.
Second.
Frank, seconded by Molly, roll call.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Rosanna?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carries. I ask the board to consider a motion to approve policy 6:60, instruction, curriculum content, Illinois learning standards for comprehensive personnel health and safety and sexual health education. Any discussion? I will ask for a motion to approve policy 6:60, instruction, curriculum content, Illinois learning standards for comprehensive personal health and safety and sexual health education.
Motion.
Renzo, seconded by Chris. Can you roll call?
Mr. Plaza?
No.
Mr. Burry?
No.
Mr. Trabuzio?
No.
Mrs. Beck?
No.
Mrs. Lala? No. Mr. Rosanna?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
The motion does not carry. I'll ask the board to consider a motion to approve contracting with Canada Health Education for 5th and 8th grade programs. Discussion.
If I could just jump in here, this proposal is asking you to continue doing what we have been doing for many, many years now, working with Pandora Health, also known as Robert Crown, in the areas of puberty in 5th grade, puberty 2 in 6th grade, human reproduction and embryology in 7th grade, and teen sexual health 1 in 8th grade, with the parent opt-out option. Programs we have been doing all along.
And nothing changed within that curriculum.
Nothing has changed within the curriculum, and this does not meet the 6.60 policy for instruction under comprehensive personal health and safety and sex health education.
Thank you.
I'll ask the board for a motion to approve a contract with Canada Health Education for 5th grade grade programs, specifically for grade period 1, 6th grade period 2, 7th grade human reproduction and embryology, 8th grade teen sexual health.
Motion.
So we'll give it to Chris this time, second by Renzo. Roll call, Kenny?
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough? Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
That carries. It's that ever important time of evening where it's board reflection time. So please take your time. Before we leave for the evening, Superintendent Booth has requested a photograph of the entire board.
Yes, we could meet outside right by the trophy case for our website, please.
Just want to forward it. Moves quickly.
There you go.
She's already talked to me about it. And it's now 11
All right, I need a motion to adjourn at 9:30.
motion.
Keep it before 11, I don't turn into a pumpkin.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. If there's any opposed, I don't think so. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
So